Hello, my name is Andrew Stahelin. I am a Glendale, California-based yoga instructor, and today we are going to be practicing a seated sun salutations variation. So the first thing we want to do is set ourselves and ground ourselves down into this practice. So sit up into a nice comfortable seated position still. We just don't want to be leaning back on the back of our chair. Find yourself here. Maybe close the eyes or soften your gaze. Hands are resting wherever feels comfortable. Begin to focus on your breath. If you feel so inclined, you can try to practice what's called ocean's breath or ujjayi breath. You seal the lips, breathe in through the nose, and exhale a deep sigh through the nose with the lips sealed. And you link that breath to each movement. It's very common in most vinyasa practices that we link the breath to the movement. And that's what we're doing today. We're linking the breath to a movement in a vinyasa flow. Whichever variation you choose though, it's completely up to you. We're going to set an intention for the practice or a purpose, a reason for the practice. So for me, it's release of tension, release of control. It's all about release. So for you, it could be something completely different, and that's perfectly fine. On your next inhale, begin to open the eyes. We're going to interlace the fingers, and we're going to do wrist rolls. We're just warming up the body. So you're going to roll the wrists one direction, breathing through this, being very easy and gentle with the wrist rolls. We're just trying to improve circulation. We're not trying to go crazy with it. And then to the other direction. You might find one direction is easier than the other, and that's perfectly fine. And release. Maybe shake out the hands a little bit, bring a little bit of circulation back in to the wrists. We're now going to do arm extensions. So you're going to grab the thumb, place it onto the palm, fingers come on top of the knuckles. As you straighten out and lengthen out this arm, stretching out the forearm or the dorsal side or top of the arm. Breathing through this. Inhale. Exhale, release. Now we're going to do the bottom side or the ventral side of your arm. So the tops of your fingertips come to the opposite palm. Lengthen out and straighten out that arm. Breathing through this. And if you are having a hard time seeing, you can see here. I'm going to do it. And release. Same thing now on the opposite arm. So I'm doing the right hand. You're going to take the left thumb, place it onto the right palm, left fingertips go onto the right knuckles, and then begin to straighten out and extend the arm, stretching out the dorsal or top of your arm. Breathing through this. And release. Right fingertips to the left palm. Left palm pulls as the right arm straightens out, stretching the ventral side or bottom part of your forearm. And release. Very nice. Now what we're going to do is, because we're not on the back of our seat. If you are, that's perfectly fine. What we're going to do is we're going to interlace the fingers. So we're interlacing the fingers and pulling up and open so that we can begin to open up our chest. Now if you are on the back of your chair, you'll be doing the same thing, just behind the chair, and just kind of lean back a little bit as you lengthen out the arms. Either way, we're just taking a second to stretch. And there we are. Now we're going to go into our shoulder rolls. So we're going to inhale, bring the shoulders up towards the ears, exhale, roll the shoulders forward and down. And then back to neutral. Inhale up to the ears, exhale forward and down. One last time. Inhale up, Exhale, forward and down, and release. Inhale, now we're doing the opposite direction, up towards the ears. Exhale, back and down. So you can see, inhale, up, back on the exhale and down. One last time, inhale, up towards the ears. Exhale, roll down and back, releasing. Very nice job. For the final pose, we're going to do cat-cow to help warm up our spine a little bit more. So we're going to take this second and we're going to basically, we're going to place our palms on the tops of our knees. What we're going to do is you're going to, on the inhale, send your gaze up and begin to just put pressure onto the tops of your legs, pulling your upper body up. You're not overly rounding the lower back. We're protecting it. We're just trying to open up the back. Send our gaze up. Exhale. Grab onto the thighs. Push and round, engaging your core. So you just want to try to flex the belly a little bit, flex the stomach to protect your lower back. We're rounding through the upper back or the thoracic spine. Inhale, back up to cow. Gaze comes up, pulling and pushing down onto the tops of our legs. Exhale, pushing in, maybe grabbing your thighs, rounding through the upper back, engaging the core, stretching out that upper back, and release. And now we begin the sun salutations. On your inhale, palms come together into this mountain pose. Ground your feet down, sit up onto the edge of your seat, engage the core. Exhale. Inhale, we're going to send the arms up into a seated volcano position. Exhale, cactus the arms down. So we're bending the elbows 90 degrees so that the forearms and fingertips are still pointed towards the ceiling, but the biceps and shoulders are 90 degrees now, parallel with the ground. Inhale, back up to volcano. Exhale, we're going to come into a seated forward fold, but so you can see, you're either going to go all the way down, and again, I'm keeping my core engaged, I'm hinging from the hips, basically lengthening out through the spine as I send my chest towards my thighs, and I'm either going to reach for the ground, on blocks, on my shins, or if you need to, it's perfectly fine, place your hands onto the tops of your legs. If you lengthen out through the spine and fold down, send your gaze down towards the ground. Breathing through this the entire time. Inhale, grab the shins. Begin to pull up, sending your gaze still down, lengthening out through the spine, pulling on the shins, stretching as much as you can, dropping the shoulder blades down. And then on your exhale, you're going to release as we come into what's going to be called chaturanga, or basically four-limb staff pose. So I'm going to show you from both angles. You're going to send your arms out forward, and then on your exhale, begin to bend the arms, send the hands towards the chest, pulling with your shoulders back to help come into this basically a vertical push-up position. So you can see it again, arms are forward, and on that exhale, we're keeping the elbows nice and tucked in and beginning to pull the back so that you're creating this vertical push-up position. Gaze is forward, core is engaged the entire time. And on your next inhale, what we're going to do is we're going to come into a seated upward facing dog. So legs come apart. Again, we're near the edge of our seat. Legs come apart though, and you can either keep the legs bent or straighten them out a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to begin to grab the top edge of our chair, grabbing onto that as we begin to open up and lengthen up through the spine, sending our gaze up towards the sky. as we stretch out these jaw muscles and the front of our neck. And this is a good way, so you can see from the side, this is a good way to really lengthen out the spine, open up the thoracic spine a little bit, but listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, just back off. You don't need to go too hard onto this to receive the benefits of this pose. Breathing through this. And on your next exhale, we're gonna come into downward facing dog from a chair. So again, you're on the edge of your seat in a comfortable position. You're either gonna lengthen out the legs or keep them bent. Arms come up as you begin to stretch through the upper body, really as if you're trying to push the sky away. And when you're ready, you're gonna begin to hinge slightly forward so that you're gonna get that nice hamstring stretch. So I'll show you again on the side. Legs extend. On your exhale, you're going to extend the arms out, legs are extended as you begin to hinge from the hips, keeping the chest nice and elongated. We're setting our chest towards our thighs as we're reaching out, engaging our core, stretching our back and stretching our hamstrings. And release, bend the knees, come back down into this nice halfway standing forward fold. You're going to basically grab the shins, extend the upper back, lengthen out to the top of your skull as you begin to send your gaze down and forward. Breathing through the summit, inhale. Exhale, release into your seated forward fold. You're either going to reach for the ground, to the tops of your feet, a block, or onto the tops of the legs, folding down. And again, I'll show you from here as well. You're from here, you're coming here, all the way that you're forward, folding down, keeping a nice length in the body. And if you're on the tops of your legs, your hands rest onto the tops of your legs. Whichever is, perfect for you. Inhale, send the arms up towards the sky for a volcano one last time. Exhale, release the hands together. Bring the palms together as we come into this mountain pose for one last time. Take the second as we begin to release the palms down towards the side. And we have a couple of variations. Just come into a comfortable seated position with the eyes closed or soft gaze. Or if you'd like, you can send your sits bones or your glute muscles towards the edge of your mat or the front of your seat. You're gonna sit back on towards the back of the chair and either extend your legs out or keep them with the knees bent. You're gonna drop your arms down to your sides, onto your lap, onto the chair, whichever feels most comfortable. And from there, or interlace your fingers onto your stomach as we come into the seated Savasana position. Soften our gaze or close the eyes as we come down and cool down into this practice. So whichever variation you're at, listen to what feels right. We're closing our eyes. We did all that work. We worked so hard. Now it's time to come down into this practice and take the second to ground yourself back here. Maybe do a check-in on the body, see what still feels stiff or if you feel completely relaxed. You can always work your way up from the toes, putting your focus there, working your way up towards the shin, the knees, up towards the thighs, into the hips, onto the stomach, onto the shoulders, wherever, and just work your way up. That's one thing. But if you'd like, you can take this time and enjoy a nice, quiet practice. you're ready, and if you feel like you can or feel comfortable doing so, inhale one more time, bring the palms up towards the sky. Exhale, bring the palms together. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for coming to this practice. And it's also important to give yourself a bit of self-gratitude. It's so hard to show up sometimes, but you did, and that's what matters. You showed up to this practice, you gave yourself a little bit of self-care, you took care of yourself, and that's what's most important. So thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your day.